Justin from the Additive Guru channel, and today we'll be talking about Monoprice Select's clogged nozzles. This currently isn't clogged, but we're just going to discuss some methods that you can use to try to unclog your Monoprice. First one being is preheat your nozzle to the right temperature. Then once you've got it up to temperature, make sure that your fan's working, because if it's not working, this ain't going to help you. You take out your filament if it's broken off. And this here is a push rod that comes with all these kits. First thing you try is to push it down and to see if you get something coming out. If you can't get anything coming out, and it's obstructed far beyond that, where it's just not coming out at all, the next step you have to do is forego the cleaning method. Go to the taking apart method. When you take it apart, we'll have to take off this fan, this heat block, heat sink, and then once we'll get there, we'll get to this, and we'll actually be able to undo the nozzle and push through, because it's usually going to be, if I had to guess, a clog within the brake of the transition from the air cooling to the heated block, and that's usually where the clog is going to happen if it isn't in the nozzle. If it's in the nozzle, there's other ways we can take care of that. So to take care of that, we just go down and we change the extruder back down to temperatures of 0. And then we go back to the beginning, wait for that to turn to the right temperature to cool down. Once it gets to the cool temperature, we'll come over here and we'll start taking off this fan shroud. This, obviously, you gotta wait for the fan to shut off before you do it. Since we know there's nothing in there filament-wise, I can shut it off, just so I don't damage the fan. This takes the whole entire heat sink off, separates the fan. We can get this out of the way, because none of this really matters. Don't lose your little post standoffs. They'll go here when you're done. Then we got to go into this. And again, this is kind of where this rod was poking through before. If it goes to this point, you take it apart. If it's in this heat break area that's causing the issue, you can heat it back up once you've taken all this apart, because obviously you don't want to have it running when you take it apart. If you go back to the extruder, turn the temp back up, to the 220, wait for it to get back up to temp. Once this reaches 220, what will happen is you'll end up melting this area right here, and if there's filament jammed in here, this will also get hot, and then you can use the push stick to push it through to make sure that it can go all the way through and back out the nozzle. If that doesn't work, the last step you have to do would be to take the nozzle off down here and jam the stick through without the nozzle in, to see if it's the actual nozzle that's clogged or your heat break that's clogged. If it's your nozzle that's clogged, you can also do the cold pull method after you're all done trying those methods. You basically put the nozzle back in, and obviously it needs to be up to temp when you go to put it back in or take it off. Once it gets back up to temp, you can go through from the top and push either nylon or a PETG of some kind. Push it down as far as you can get it, let it sit, put it to cool down mode, and after it cools down, turn it back up to heat and start pulling on the material that you have in there until the temperature will let it pop. That's the cold pull. And again, after you're all done with that, it should be released. If not, it's probably going to be a new nozzle at the very last, because that would be the very last thing that could go wrong. and from there, you should be good.
What kind of things cause a repetitive clog in Monoprice?
Specifically, like filled filaments is very good at clogging things, like wood specifically. If you use wood in one of these, there's a good chance you're going to clog it. If you use like glitter filled or let's say glow in the dark, anything that has composites, it's more likely to clog it. PLA wise, if it's a PLA thing, it's probably been working its way up transitioning between materials. Say you switch it to PETG and then you go back to PLA. If you didn't purge all that PLA or high temp material out first, it'll stay in there and it'll cause a residue buildup. And then when that residue buildup happens, it starts a partial clog and then a full clog at some point. And that PETG is switching between ABS, PETG, and the other materials is what ends up causing it.
How does a fan contribute to this problem?
Yeah, if your fan doesn't work, like if you have your extruder fan here and it's just not blowing, it'll do exactly what we were just doing to clear this. It'll heat this up to the point where it'll actually gum up and it won't be able to get through. So when the filament's trying to go through, it'll be a globed mess that's actually sticking in the inside. And then once it sticks, you can't get it out without going through and cleaning it.
All right. Thanks, Justin. For any other tips for him on the Monoprice?
On the Monoprice, this one does pretty well, other than maybe a few fussy things you have to do with the leveling. I've noticed sometimes you have to put washers underneath the bed to get it to level correctly. But other than that, it's pretty good other than that.
Okay. All right. Thanks, and make sure to check out some of our other videos.